I guess if I had to say what was the best objection to the first edition of the design inference, it's this balance between specifications and improbable events and how you count everything so that you can get a really accurate assessment of the improbability. The most thoughtful objection to the design inference is probably not so much an objection as a call for clarification. And I think there were places in the first edition of the design inference where there was room for improvement. There is, for instance, a need to do some careful accounting to make sure that when something appears to be improbable, it really is improbable. So let me give you an example. I was living in the Dallas area in the late 90s, and then one day I saw 5 Grand Am red 4-door Pontiacs in succession driving along right after one another. And I looked at that and I thought, that looks designed. Now, it could have happened by chance, right? So how is it that I could, and it's funny because I was just getting first edition of Design Inference published at that time. So what convinces us that we're dealing with design there? Okay, so same year, same make, same color, all of that. Seems improbable, okay, but what's the improbability there? There were lots of Pontiacs. Pontiacs have been discontinued, but since then, there are 1.4 billion vehicles on the road throughout the world. They're constantly rearranging themselves. Maybe I just happened to see those 5 right in a row. What if it had been 10? Okay. Now we can basically look at all the different makes and models that are around in the world, their relative proportion, and then start doing some probabilistic calculations about the probability of that. But doing the actual calculation could take some doing. I think you can get some pretty reliable estimates. But what about, let's say they were 10 orange Grand Ams, 4 doors, Pontiac, year 1999. Well, that was salient. I would think that was designed, but is that the only pattern of that sort that I should be counting? What if they had been Honda Accords? What if they had been Bentleys? That would have been, Bentleys are a lot fewer on the road. To see 10 identical Bentleys, that would be more improbable. But what you notice though, we've got these patterns, they're salient, right? It's the same make, model, year, but counting all those patterns and counting all the ways those patterns could be matched, that requires a calculation. And doing that sort of calculation and providing a better methodology, I was getting at that issue in something I called specificational and replicational resources in the first edition of the design inference, but it really needed to be cleaned up. And we've done that now. I think really nailed it down. And it's by a tighter, or by a conception of specified complexity as a unified information measure, and something that incorporates all those patterns, all those ways those patterns might be matched. And there's a deep result from information theory called the Kraft inequality, which really gives us a handle on those numbers. So I guess if I had to say what was the best objection to the first edition of the design inference, it's this balance between specifications and improbable events and how you count everything so that you can get a really accurate assessment of the improbability. And I think we've got a much better handle on that now.